Crypto kidnappings, otherwise known as wrench attacks, are on the rise. We have seen people get kidnapped, tortured, and worse in the United States. Abroad, we saw a major crypto kidnapping ringleader arrested in Morocco just this week. Colin and I are going to break down what's going on, why these are happening, do some case studies because some of these are still going on, and then tell you how you can protect yourself. Bitcoin Season 2 is brought to you by Arch Network, the platform building bridgeless apps on Bitcoin. More on Arch later on the show. Let's kick it off.
This is the single most dangerous thing you can imagine if you own Bitcoin or crypto, at least in a metaphorical sense. I think maybe a 9mm might be a little more dangerous, but this is cheap. And it hurts if it makes contact with any part of your body, especially with some force behind it.
Don't find yourself trying to bring a 9mm to a wrench fight. Okay, that's a dumb. Okay, so what is a wrench attack? Right now, crypto kidnappings are like in top of the news right now. Colin, it's a wrench attack? What is it?
It's a common saying within Bitcoin and crypto, and I don't know where it originates from, but the basic idea being, what do you need to hack into someone's wallet or get their seed phrase? All you need is a $5 wrench. It's basically a brutal way of saying if somebody has a blunt object and wants to extract information out of you, they can do so by means that are medieval and long practiced by all manner of degenerates throughout human history. So it's basically just a saying that, if someone has a motive and they are evil enough and they find you and they know that you have crypto, they can get your seed phrase or they can get your access to your accounts by means of torture or some similar kind of, like I said, medieval method.
Yeah, and it's because you can have the best personal security ever, but this does become a human problem because with crypto, with Bitcoin, and the ability to secure your own money, to be your own bank, to hold your own private keys, that also means that if you are forced under duress to send that away, it's irrecoverable. And so it's a single point of failure in a lot of cases. It's still this huge systemic issue because we have certain fallbacks. We can do counterparties and custodians, but the trade-off is clear. If you are going to self-custody or if you have access to these funds, they can be wrenched out of you.
Yeah, and we're going to go through a number of case studies today, and just a few things that I want people to keep in mind as we do this. I'm not trying to scare anyone. We're just trying to, as Jameson Lopp, the co-founder of Casa, who has kind of curated a large list of these things, he's very much a security-minded person. As he's drawn awareness to this, we want to also draw awareness to it. It's kind of like reading articles about rare forms of cancer or a freak accident on a vacation or some unwitting tourist slips off of a cruise ship and gets devoured by a great white or something, right? They can seem very sensational, but it's just a reminder to try to make sure that your house is in order, right? If you're traveling somewhere and you own Bitcoin or crypto, keep that stuff on a cold wallet that is offline, not on an account, not on a hot wallet. Don't wear Bitcoin shirts out, and just generally don't advertise where you're going or flaunt your wealth. This is something that is a huge problem that we see outside of Bitcoin and crypto too. Of some of these influencers on TikTok or Instagram, they're lounging up against Aston Martins, and renting out massive villas, and they let people know where they're traveling to next, and they end up getting kidnapped and extorted.
And it's not limited just to grandiose displays of wealth. We saw the CEO of Ledger, fairly innocuous, not particularly remarkable public figure, but he is the CEO of, I believe, the most popular consumer hardware wallet device. His family got kidnapped, as well as did he. Or there were attempted kidnappings or abductions. And again, some groundwork, listener. It is right now and probably going forward much less likely that these types of things are going to happen to you than it is for commonplace scams, phishing attempts, and screw ups on your end. So you should consider your like prioritization accordingly. It's much more likely that you get scammed, phished, or you trade away your wealth than it is for this to happen to you. Yet, this is a fun and wild topic to talk about because it's scary, it's sensational, and we'll wrap this up with a wild ongoing story about the kidnapping in New York.
Let's talk about why Jameson Lopp, who, just quick shout out, he's really been drawing a lot of attention to these things and bringing awareness to this issue. So we'll be drawing from some of his resources on GitHub and also his Twitter for some of these stories. But why did Jameson Lopp start indexing these attacks in the first place, Charlie?
Yeah, so Jameson Lopp has a GitHub that he's been tracking the known crypto wrench attacks. And there's more data points on it every week. But the reason he started doing this is because, and this is public, so he's talked publicly about this, he's written publicly about this. Jameson Lopp back in 2017 was swatted. For those who don't know, this is kind of an internet term for whenever a SWAT team is baited into coming to someone's house. That means tactically, someone who wishes ill on you will make a phone call or something and pretend to be you so as to lure the relevant local authorities to send a SWAT team to your house. And these things can end badly where there have been people who have been killed by the SWAT team unfairly and innocently because they freaked out. It was just poorly handled. And we've seen this a lot in like video game streamer culture. Again, it's pretty dark, but this can happen in targeted attempts. In this case, during the Blockspace war, Jameson Lopp was a very controversial figure, and someone sent a SWAT team to his house. Now, he was luckily at the gym at the time, getting swole, working on reducing his overall risk surface area. And he talks about this. And this is one of the reasons why he's kind of started writing good foundational writings and guides on like best practices and how to reduce and avoid these. So that's one like kind of concept and why this has been better cataloged as of late.
One thing to add to that, I think, just for those who don't know what the block size war was, it was a 2016 era disagreement, I guess 2015, 2016 era disagreement in Bitcoin on increasing the block size or not increasing the block size. I'm not going to get into the details, but it was a very hot and vociferous debate, a lot of sour grapes still, and the swatting against Jameson Lopp is a good example of why it's still such a hot topic and why there are still so many poisonous memories of that time with a lot of these Bitcoiners. So, but when you look at these attacks, I really kind of boil it down. I mean, there are shades here and there of differences, and there are probably a few more categories you could give, but there are really like three main categories in terms of the targets, or rather the profile of people being targeted. First one that we will tackle is a well-known crypto entrepreneur and or their family, or just a well-known personality within the Bitcoin and crypto space that is singled out, kidnapped, extorted, tortured, etc. The second is kind of just your average Joe finds him or herself in a bad situation where somehow an attacker has either properly guessed or figured out that they hold crypto and they end up extorting them for the money.
The third I would call, kind of trade or business deal gone wrong, where it's either two counterparties that know each other or someone who has lured another person, a victim, into a certain space with the pretense of facilitating some sort of trade or business deal, ends up extorting them and attacking them for their Bitcoin. So we'll kind of go through all of those and give a few examples and end with that one on like the business deal gone wrong. We'll start with the well-known crypto entrepreneurs or, personalities. And do you want to start with the Ledger one? I feel like that's been
this is a really good anchor point.
One. Yeah. So as you were saying, Charlie, this was at the beginning of the year, and it was David Balland, the co-founder of Ledger, who no longer works there, ended up having fingers cut off, and he and his wife were kidnapped in Paris. And eventually, I think they found the guy who orchestrated this in Morocco. That was just that news broke recently. Yeah, but they ended up extorting him for. I don't know if they ended up getting anything out of him.
They didn't give details. No.
Legendary. I mean, heart out to David and his wife. That sounds awful. I hope that they're recovering okay. Nice to know that they caught the guy, or the band, the brigands who did this, and also that they didn't end up losing anything. But they were they were kidnapped for a few days. That's it from the article.
Days, they cut off his thumb or something like that.
Yeah, it said in this article his hand was mutilated. And I quote from the article, Ballin and his wife were kidnapped early on Tuesday morning from their home in central France and were taken by car to two separate addresses where they were held captive. Ballin, who Ledger said no longer works for the company, was rescued after a police operation on Wednesday, and his wife was freed the following day. During the kidnapping, kidnappers contacted another Ledger co-founder and demanded a ransom in cryptocurrency, part of which was paid. So a ransom was paid, but that was by Ledger itself, it seems. The rescue operation involved more than 90 officers and France's tactical police. Ballin's wife was found tied up but uninjured in a car on Thursday. This is back in January. So, and
this was a profession. So this is the thing. This is a professionally organized crime. This is professional organized crime, which has as its target well-known owners of crypto and Bitcoin. And so this is not just like Joe on the street, two buddies getting drunk one night being like, hey, we should go get that guy. No, this is, well, that's probably also happened. But no, this is like actual like strategic, organized international crime rings, because a lot of stuff is currently happening internationally. A lot of the, I would say, modern European countries with increased international presence in them. You see a lot of that happening there. So France would be understandable.
Yeah, 100%. And you also see this spill over to people's families. So there's an article from NBC that was run earlier or a month ago on May 4th. Father of cryptocurrency entrepreneur rescued after being kidnapped for ransom in France. They do not list who this person is. Kind of like to see that. I mean, it's already been a nightmare for them already. Don't need to publicize them any more than they already don't need to publicize them anymore if they've already been through the ringer like this. But so I don't know who the entrepreneur was, but his father ended up being kidnapped. There's another article that Lopp lists in this GitHub repository, which we'll link to in the show notes. Crypto influencer's father was kidnapped on New Year's Eve. And then there was another one that happened pretty recently. Attempted abduction of crypto exchange CEO's daughter in broad daylight, caught on camera. Attackers were fought off by her partner and bystander. And that's a great video. Actually, it kind of lifts your heart up. It's terrible to see, but this girl and this man are walking. Believe that headline said partner. I saw at some point when I saw this originally, someone said that it was actually the friend of the father. Regardless, though, he's like hunched over this woman, and these guys are like beating on him, trying to get to the girl. And then you love to see it. These random guys on the street just come over.
You gotta start
vigilante, like drop kicking and haymakering these guys.
Every guy's fantasy is to like see a fight that's very clear they can go and somehow win, and it be like recorded.
Actually, it'd make a difference. It's like that meme where it's like, why do guys say they want to bleed out in a place like this? And it's just this snowscape. But so some of these they're still terrifying and they're unfortunate and traumatic experiences, but some of them have happier endings than others. Like that one, the CEO's daughter didn't end up getting kidnapped, and the would-be perpetrators would-be kidnappers ended up zooming away. But just a good reminder that it's really better to be low key. And, for some people who are founders or influencers or podcasters, this is easier said than done. But yeah, you don't want to be flaunting this stuff. And if you look at a lot of the GitHub that Lopp has, the majority of the attacks, I would say, at least the high profile ones and the ones with the bigger dollar signs, tend to be people who are well known or founders, big executives or influencers in the space. So
Let me tell you about one of the most slept on opportunities in crypto. Arch is building fast, composable DeFi apps on Bitcoin. Arch apps tap into the OG blockchain with by far the most liquidity and best brand in crypto. I've known the team for over a year. The tech they're building is solid and they are racing towards mainnet. There's dexes like Saturn, meme coins on FunkyBit.fun, instant loans on Cha-Ching, and so much more. Plus, they're rewarding testnet users, so join me in trying out Arch while it's still early. Yeah, I'll actually pull this up here. So if you're listening, I pulled up the actual GitHub, which is a GitHub project which Jameson manages, which logs known crypto physical Bitcoin attacks since early. This actually starts with Hal Finney being swatted back in 2014. A lot of people don't know this, but yeah, similar thing, SWAT team, and people had apparently attempted to extort him and his wife. So it's kind of wild. And there's some, names we might recognize on here over the years, but you can see most of this stuff happens internationally. Most of it happens in Europe or
that's one of the things that I was wondering about. I feel like every time I see it, it's in France or somewhere in Europe. Yeah. There are quite a lot in
Southeast Asia,
America too. Yeah, Southeast Asia as well. And these really start kicking up. Maybe there's just more eyeballs on them, but you start seeing them pick up a little bit in 2017, and then last bull market in the 2020, 2022, they really, really start ramping up.
Yeah, but you can see there's way more attacks. The news is better. The news pipeline is better, like identifying them and telling the story. And the thing is, like Jameson says that there are some people who request not to be on here, so this doesn't log everything. And think about it. If this happened to you, a lot of people, probably myself included, would not want it to be like, even if everything did turn out okay, probably wouldn't want it to be a story or really publicly associated, because what does that benefit you? It only it's socially difficult, and it may even make you a target in the future. So yeah, so we see a lot of these, and I mean, there's some crazy stories like, mining facility in Paraguay. 3 Chinese citizens entered Paraguay illegally, tried to rob a mining facility, got in a shootout with police. In Seoul, South Korea, Russian nationals lure victim to hotel for crypto trade, attempt to rob him of 1 billion won. Victim escapes. France, police arrest 10 men in balaclavas foiling their attempted kidnapping of a crypto entrepreneur. Like, these are doozies of stories. Again, this probably won't happen to you, but this is a major trend that's starting to happen, and it
100%.
And it crosses. What's funny is it crosses like the normie news chasm. This is one of those like topics that, like my mom emailed me about it this morning. And this is a thing, I think, because people see it. I saw a CoffeeZilla episode report on it yesterday. He covered it too. And so like it's very resonant because people can wrap their heads around it.
Yeah, and it's super salacious. And I think there are different takeaways from like the normie camp versus the Bitcoiner and crypto camp. For the normie camp, it's like, see, there's no recourse for your crypto. If someone steals it, there's no way to just roll it back. You can't contact the bank. Can't claim fraud or things like that. Whereas for the Bitcoiners, it's a reminder that OPSEC is really, really important. And speaking of that, sometimes, but I will say this much, sometimes OPSEC maybe isn't enough or doesn't even matter. I mean, most of the times it will help you, but this is a good segue to move on to one of the more wild cases, which is this one of a American tourist who was en route to Spain and had to stop in London and somehow found himself out of $125,000 worth of investments in cryptocurrency. This headline reads, American tourist in London loses $123K in crypto after, quote, drug-enabled abduction by fake Uber driver. This one is really wild. So this guy was in London. He was en route to Spain. He had like a 2-day layover. He's a software engineer from Portland, Oregon. And he was at a bar. He ordered an Uber and a fake Uber pulled up that called out the alias he used on the app. I don't know, maybe it was Jacob. Even if, regardless, how did the guy know his number? How did the guy know who he was unless he was working with the other Uber driver? And this guy pulled up, asked him to sit in the front seat. This guy Jacob said, "Oh, he's really friendly, seemed really chill." Then he offers him a cigarette, which is, it's kind of interesting. Like so many things.
Welcome to the UK. Would you?
I guess we still smoke in cabs here, and but so many things had to go right for this scammer and this kidnapper to actually hit the jackpot here. The cigarette was drugged, and through the process of being drugged, Jacob ended up transferring or opening up his apps, unlocking his accounts for his whatever brokerage platform he used for his crypto and things like that. And he ended up losing all of the money. The reason why I highlight this one is, to me, it shows that either one, some of these guys are super advanced. Like, how did this fake Uber driver know his name? How did he know where to pick him up? I don't know if there was some way that he was in contact with the actual Uber driver, if somehow he had an eye on, if there was like some sort of malware where he had an eye on Jacob's phone. Regardless, super sophisticated, and also ended up being pretty convoluted with the cigarette and getting all of his accounts drained. And this is, again, to highlight just a normal guy. Somehow they knew that he had investments on his phone or had cryptocurrencies. Maybe they just made a guess. I don't know. But this one to me was really kind of crazy because, again, low profile guy, a lot of things had to go right for it to be pulled off. And there are, if you go through Lopp's GitHub, there are a few others like this where it's just kind of, some dude traveling somewhere and then boom, ends up getting extorted for hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of Bitcoin, which is, again, a good reminder. Like, just do not travel with a lot of money on your phone. Don't do it.
Well, and there are we would get eviscerated by the hardcore, by a lot of hardcore folks if we didn't, mention that there is a spectrum of self-custody approaches you can have. You can have like certain multi-sig setups. You can have timed withdrawals. You can have delayed withdrawals. You can, shout out to Rob Hamilton with Anchor Watch and like their particular mini script vaulting setup. Like, there are options. But these are still all, along the spectrum of things that you can control. And it's not like, and most of these products and almost all of crypto does not have a similar like fraud protection or FDIC type backstop. It's, as NVK of CoinKite says, you do the wrong thing and money gone. And it's just gone. You can't like get it back. And so because crypto assets are a bearer asset, this is why they are so powerful in the hands of people and why it is such an easy target and low hanging fruit. The basic rule of thumb is this, the rule of severed thumb is, these will only increase as the price of Bitcoin goes up. So, we can touch on the most wild story, and then we can, maybe at the wrap up with, basic best practices from Jameson Lopp.
Yeah.
Hey, Will here with Blockspace Media. Did you know that we have individual feeds for all our shows? If you're watching the Mining Pod, Bitcoin Season 2, or the Court Show, be sure to check out the individual feeds. You can find them on your podcast player of choice, whether that be Spotify, Apple, YouTube, etc. Just type in Blockspace Media and you'll find all our shows pop up, or just type in the individual show name like the Mining Pod or Bitcoin Season 2. Be sure to hit that subscribe and give us a 5-star rating so we can continue to bring you the best content in Bitcoin.
Let's close on the Kentucky Crypto King. This story has a little something for everyone. It's got an Italian tourist. It's got a $30,000 to $40,000 per month penthouse suite in New York. It's got crack cocaine. It's got a Kentucky man who can afford, or maybe not, maybe this is why he's extorting people, a super expensive penthouse in New York and is trying to extort a man that he's done business with. So this goes back to our third category of people you have done business with or a trade gone wrong. So take it away, Charlie.
So feel free to interject or stop me when I say something wrong, because I may not. This is kind of a hard story to explain, but basically, Italian national Michael Valentino Teofrastro Carturan, age 28, was held for 17 days in a luxury apartment on Prince Street by John Waltz and William Duplessis, who tied him up and tortured him and extorted him for an estimated 28 million in crypto. Now, John and William, the abductors and torturers, are actually known figures, I believe, somewhere in the investment or venture space in crypto. In fact, I was listening to the Castle Island podcast with Nick and Matt, and one of them actually knows who those guys are. And the funny thing is, they were actually, I believe, not very well liked in the crypto space. Obviously, I think
you don't say.
I'm going to say, if you're the type of person to kidnap and torture, I imagine you're probably a shitty business person too. So, so that's the TLDR of what happened. Now, the details surrounding this, as they are revealed, get wilder and wilder. What was the first detail or two that emerged from this, Colin, if you remember?
First of all, apparently this Italian guy and John Waltz, however you pronounce it,
however you say the name,
they had done business with each other in the past, but the amount of stuff that goes on in this is just kind of crazy. From the New York Post article, I don't know if it's the same one you're reading from, said suspecting of torturing an Italian businessman with a chainsaw, a sadistic week-long attempt, also involved being tied up with an electrical wire and tortured. He was tased at one point. He had a gun pointed to his head, and he was also dangled from the balcony of the penthouse at one point,
like a mob movie. This is like a caricature of a mob movie.
Yeah, send us the crypto, and I don't want to make light of this too much because
it's like that scene with Adam Sandler in Uncut Gems.
Yeah,
it's like that's exactly what it's like.
Yeah, they threatened to cut his limbs off with an electric chainsaw. He was forced to take cocaine at some point, according to this article. And from this New York Times article, the nightmare erupted from a dispute over cryptocurrency in which the suspect allegedly tried to extort millions of dollars from the man. Blah, blah, blah. Apparently, when the Italian came to his house, he seized his passport and then locked him up, and the weeks-long had a torture session ensued.
So there's a couple things. So first of all, the captees' parents, referred to as reclusive by this New York Post article, only learned of the kidnap, I believe, 2 weeks after it happened, when a family friend informed them. They also had not their son. They didn't really apparently they didn't seem to know what he did, but he'd been traveling internationally a lot. But the family said the New York Post says, quote, the family were seemingly on high alert prior to that and had recently hired private security, and who had also put up their very nice fancy home, I believe in Italy, near Rivoli or near Turin, up for sale. And then some of the family may have been threatened during that kidnap period. This is wild. So also recently, thanks to TMZ, now that TMZ is covering crypto, we are probably going to get out of a job, Colin. There are some videos which emerged of the victim, quote, seemingly partaking in parties at the house and talking about drugs while he was tied to the wheelchair. Apparently, I might be getting the specific details. He was doing something with crack cocaine with an air fryer, I think, while visibly tied to his chair or something. You got the video.
I've got the video up here. So
Thank you, Jameson Lopp. Again, also another classic Jameson.
I'm so curious how they got this video. I didn't dig into it, but
TMZ. That's so whack. Put his hood on. They look like they're having a blast. So for the listener, this is the dude tied to a chair with an air fryer.
He's cooking crack cocaine in an air fryer, apparently, which I didn't even realize you could do that. I guess with enough heat, you can do anything. But
I don't presume to know how you make drugs. So
I don't either. Needless to say, really weird case. The video is strange. Again, I don't know how that surfaced. Apparently, it's 5 days into the incident. Anyway, the video really kind of calls into question some of what's going on here. We're not going to speculate. We don't know what's going on, but we will wrap up with best practices from Lopp so that you can avoid cooking crack cocaine in an air fryer.
Yeah, I would definitely also like to avoid this myself. So we're going to leave you with basically a basic place to start for resources. So this comes from Jameson Lopp's blog, blog.lopp.net. And it's the blog named Modest Privacy Protection Proposal, where he talks about privacy in general. And then he talks about privacy goals. So because privacy for most people is not completely entirely achievable, you can think of it as insulating yourself from certain tiers of attacks or tiers of scrutiny. And Lopp defines 4 major levels of privacy protection. The first one would be how to protect yourself against the average person who knows how to search the web. Basically, make yourself difficult to find out, know a bunch of stuff from simple Googling. The next one would be protect yourself against someone with resources to hire a cheap private investigator, and someone with indefinite funds to indefinitely fund a top-tier private investigator. And then the one which is protection against agents of nation states with nearly unlimited funds. Just for the general listener out there, the basics for the first one, the first tier of insulate yourself from being easy to Google and easy to figure out. There are ways you can make it difficult or obfuscate to know where you live. You can take some basic social media hygiene to make it so that your specific whereabouts, where you're going to be on specific days, especially if you're traveling internationally, are difficult to identify. You don't want to be posting specific locations or habits. And then you want to have some basic protection on phones or things that you use to secure crypto assets. So this would be basic 2FA, basic hygiene by not carrying too much crypto along with you, with direct access to it through your mobile device. You can get a little more paranoid by obfuscating where your mail goes. You can hide ownership of property, not for tax purposes, but rather so that people don't know where your primary residence is or where places you might be are. And then things like protecting your name and keeping a low profile. So those are just the basic. It sounds a little bit like common sense stuff for if someone were to think about what they would do to reduce a lot of the public footprint. But I do recommend this article. And then he provides further research and further things you can do beyond that once you have that basic stuff. I'll tag you and I see you.
I don't have really anything to add. I think that sums it up. I think just make sure your online hygiene is good. Don't flaunt your wealth. Don't wear Bitcoin shirts and swag outside of your home. Just I think the biggest thing too is just do not keep a lot of crypto on your phone. Don't keep it on exchanges. And if you do keep it on exchanges, don't.
Yeah, well, it's a double-edged sword. We want to encourage people to self-custody, but then you've got to self-custody in the right way. And then there's all these other risk factors. The thing is, I keep coming back to this tried and true mantra, which is it's actually really easy to buy Bitcoin. it's difficult to hold on to it for a number of reasons. Your own failure to be disciplined, your own greed to trade or acquire more, phishing or scam attempts. It can be difficult because you'll have life things which cost you that money. That would be a good reason to like take care of a life expense. But then you have things like wrench attacks, and that's what we talked about today. So, listener, we encourage you to self-custody, but to DYOR, do your own research. Be prepared. Think about how you're going to do these things. So, Colin and I do not purport to be experts on this. So make sure you follow other people for these things. We are simply the talking heads who are going to tell you that this is happening so that you, listener, can go do your own research. Thanks so much for listening.
We just pretend to be experts.
Yeah. That's part of our optics. So
that's the life of a journalist and a podcaster.
Exactly. Right. We're poor podcasters. I
lost all my money to Geo Bowden. I put my life savings into Geo Bowden, and then Biden dropped out, and now I'm penniless. Thanks, Biden.
Yeah, I bought. I thought I was buying Bitcoin, but I was buying the ticker Bitcoin, Obama, Sonic, Harry Potter, whatever, Inu. So. So technically I have been DCAing Bitcoin. It's just the wrong Okay, well, shout out to all the people listening to this. Don't trade away your wealth. Don't get your wealth stolen. And see you at $250,000 Bitcoin. Peace.